Welcome to Midnight Movie Recaps, where movies come alive in minutes. Let's dive into tonight's story. In 2029, the United States Air Force has a space research station called Oberon where they train chimpanzees and orangutans for dangerous exploration missions. In a pod, a chromosome-enhanced chimpanzee named Pericles loses control of the system and starts freaking out. Thankfully, this is just a simulation and Captain Leo gets him to calm down with a treat. Afterward, Leo returns Pericles to the lab. Another scientist shows Leo one of their female chimpanzees and mentions that Pericles is going to be a father. The moment is interrupted when Leo gets a video message from his friends at home telling him they miss him. Suddenly, the lights in the station start flickering until they completely go out. The animals screech for several seconds and after a few minutes, the lights are back on. Leo is called to the bridge and he learns that an electromagnetic storm is approaching the station. All the digital clocks are stopped and the system is picking up some frequency patterns. Apparently it's all of Earth's electronic communications from all time, which the storm must be bouncing back. Commander Carl wants to send out Pericles to investigate the storm and Leo claims it's a waste of time, desperate to protect his friend. However, Carl reminds him that the standard procedure forbids manned flights without sending an ape first to confirm it's safe. Pericles is sent out in a pod and quickly makes his way to the storm, allowing the main system to pick up more readings. Leo worries when he notices the pod goes off course and they detect a surge in Pericles' heart rate. In just a few seconds, they lose the pod signal and it doesn't appear on the radar anymore. A scientist points out that Pericles is trained to come back, but Leo is desperate and rushes to another pod to run some sequences. While working, he opens a comm channel to spy on Carl's conversation and learns that he's shutting down launch operations. Leo refuses to abandon his friends, so he activates the pod and quickly leaves the station before the others can stop him. When Carl finally notices, he yells at him over the comms, but Leo ignores him. The pod flies right into the storm and after some shaking, a bright light appears and Leo sees Pericles' pod. He tries to inform his crew, but the comms only play static. Then another light shines brightly and Pericles' pod disappears into it. The light hits Leo's pod next and shakes it for a few seconds before shutting down all its systems. Leo is shocked to find the pod floating outside the storm and keeps trying to contact the station to no avail. He desperately tries to control the pod, but it doesn't respond and just floats away. At the station, the crew receives a mysterious message from an old man crying Mayday as his station crashes. Soon Leo's pod goes to another bright light and suddenly the system starts working again. To his confusion, the numbers on the clock are going crazy. Sparks go off inside the pod when the system fails again and it begins descending quickly until it crashes on the planet Ashler. The pod scrapes on the ground for a few miles and eventually lands in a pond. Thankfully, the pod has an emergency lever that Leo pulls to eject himself, then he swims out of the pond while the flaming pod sinks to the bottom. He looks around to find a wild jungle and hears a noise that reveals Karabi and his daughter Dana, followed by a group of tribesmen. They just ignore Leo and keep on running. It turns out that the tribesmen are running away from some armor-wearing apes. A terrified Leo decides to run too while the apes make precise jumps to kidnap as many humans as possible. Even children are thrown into bags. The chase goes on for several minutes, and it's revealed that these apes ride horses too. Leo is suddenly hit by an ape and his body is thrown back, but when he's about to be run over by a horse he rolls out of the way and hides in the bushes. When Dana is tackled down, Carlby gets distracted and the apes throw a net on him. Some of the humans try to fight back, but the apes are stronger and easily knock them down. The group makes it to the edge of a cliff and doesn't have anywhere to go, so the apes capture them all and put them in a cage. General Thade arrives to supervise the operation and Leo is shocked to hear him talk. As he moves back he accidentally touches Colonel Adder, who kicks him for touching him and calls him a dirty human. Afterward the cage is dragged to the city by human slaves. All the citizens here are apes and they insult humans as they pass. Leo asks where they are but none of the humans answer. Some children start throwing rocks at the cages, however Ari rushes to stop them. The kids mock her by calling her a human lover. The cage is taken to slave owner Limbo, who thinks these aren't good quality humans but buys them all anyway. Soldiers drag the humans to the cells and Dana and Karabi try to fight to avoid being separated, but the apes are too strong and Karabi's head is smashed on the wall. When Thade arrives, he complains about tribesmen raiding the apes' farms and Limbo suggests hanging a human carcass to scare them off, but Thade explains that the human rights faction won't allow him. He then buys a human child for his niece's birthday, and the poor kid is taken away with a leash. Ari watches this from afar and thinks it's disgusting. Afterward Limbo and his guards start marking the humans with the slave brand. They only manage to do a few before Ari bursts in to knock the burning iron down. She starts talking about human rights and Leo uses the chance to grab the iron. When Ari approaches the cage to open it, Leo quickly takes her hostage with the iron and begs for her help. Ari decides to buy him and Dana and flirts with Limbo to get a good deal. Later Dana and Leo are delivered to Ari's house. Her father is Senator Sandar and he isn't happy to see wild humans, so he tells Ari to keep them out of sight until their house broken. Dana and Leo are forced to work in the kitchen and Leo wonders how apes became like this, but Dana doesn't understand the question. When Leo tries to escape, he's blocked by Ari's bodyguard Krul who sends him back to work. In the dining room, Sundar is having an important dinner with various important apes from the military and the Senate. Wild humans are currently outnumbering apes 4-1 and they keep on breeding, so the apes need to find a way to stop them. Sterilization is mentioned, but it would be extremely costly. Ari keeps defending human rights, but whenever she tries to get her father's support, Sundar is distracted by Thade speaking of self-defense. Leo pays attention to all the details while Cruel guides him on how to serve the meal. Before eating, the apes pray to their ancient savior Seamus, who Thade is a descendant of. When Ari says that humans have souls too, Thade knocks Leo down and looks down his throat, mockingly looking for the soul. Ari is so upset that she leaves the table. Thade follows her and confesses his feelings for her, but Ari accuses him of wanting her only to gain her father's power. A furious Thade pushes her against the wall and reminds her that he could arrest her for all the trouble she's always causing. Then Thade tries to leave, but some soldiers stop him, saying they have something to show him. They take him to the jungle and show him the trail of destruction left by the crashing pod, describing the ball of fire they saw in the sky. The soldiers assure him that they haven't told anyone else, so Thade jumps on them and quickly kills them both. In the slave cells, Leo picks the lock to escape and Dana and Tyval decide to go with him. They carefully sneak around and eventually make it to Limbo's house, where they free Karabi, Gunnar, and Burn. Gunnar isn't happy to see Tyval because supposedly house humans think they're better than tribesmen, but Leo stops him and Karabi agrees to escape together. On their way out, they're seen by some teenage apes, who screech and get a guard's attention. The group starts running through several houses, freaking out every ape that sees them. When they find a little girl in a cage, Dana rescues her too. Soon the guards are searching the city and Leo jumps on a shadow that is getting closer. However, it turns out to be Ari and Kroll, who quickly overpower him. Ari wants to take them back because she thinks she can reason with the soldiers, but Leo convinces her to help them escape. A child can't survive such a trip though, so they send the little girl to Ari's house. As Ari sneaks the group out of the city, Adder sees them and comes after them. Karabi tells them to keep going and runs to fight Adder with a torch. However, Adder easily grabs him and lets Thade kill him from behind. Then Thade orders Adder to go after the humans and kill them all except for Leo because he wants to talk to him. Using a secret tunnel, Ari guides the group out of the city. She tries to comfort a crying Dana, who snaps and causes Ari to screech. The humans run to the jungle and Ari follows them after ignoring Kroll's warnings. He has no choice but to follow them too, unaware that someone is watching in the shadows. Leo takes the group to the pond while telling them about his pod, but the others don't believe his story. When Leo calls the apes monkeys, a furious Kroll tackles him down and says that monkeys are below apes on the evolutionary chain just above humans. Leo jumps into the pond and Ari freaks out, revealing that apes can't swim. While Leo searches his pod for his bag, Dana jumps in to help him, but she gets scared when she sees two apes. However, they're just the dead bodies that they dropped earlier and Leo swims with Dana back to the surface. Leo gets his communicator from his bag and manages to get a signal from his space station, which means they must be close. Crow thinks his gadget is sorcery and Leo explains its science. Following the signal, he starts guiding the group while explaining that on his planet, humans are in charge and apes are in zoos. Suddenly Limbo tackles Gunnar, who punches him to push him off. Burn then manages to land a few hits on Limbo, who knocks him down before calling his guards. As Burn is held down, Limbo gets ready to kill him, so Leo pulls out a gun from his bag and shoots a tree to show what it can do, causing the guards to run away. Leo forces Limbo to free Burn and gets ready to kill the ape, but Ari gets in the way and says that killing an unarmed ape would be lowering himself to his level. Limbo starts talking about getting along while his foot reaches for a guard's fallen spear, but Leo shoots again to stop him. When Limbo tries to run, the group captures him and handcuffs him. Then Cruel takes Leo's gun and smashes it on a rock because he's afraid that Leo could use it against him. In the city, Thade tells Sundar that Ari was kidnapped by humans even though he knows Ari was helping them. Thade asks for martial law and absolute power to get rid of all humans and Sundar finally gives in. Before leaving, Thade visits his sick father Zaius and tells him about Leo. Zaius then decides to share a secret that has only been kept in the family. There was a time when humans were masters and apes were slaves. He warns Thade that more humans will come to pick up Leo and makes him break an old vase. Inside there's a gun and Zaius tells Thade about its power. He wants his son to stop the humans before they reach the forbidden area of Kalima because it holds the secret to their true beginnings. Zaius then insults all humans and dies. While the group keeps moving, Leo explains that on Earth, apes were held in zoos because humans destroyed all forests. He talks about space training and RECs it as proof of humans being intelligent and sensitive. Moments later they reach Kalima and find some really creepy scarecrows. Ari explains these things are supposed to keep humans away because this is the sacred land where the first ape Seamus was born. Several soldiers are camping in the area so the group will wait until night to move. As two apes start fighting over a card game, Adder finally arrives and stops them while calling the camp a disgrace, so he'll take over leadership. In the evening, the group sneaks around and steals some horses. Leo shoots a flare as a distraction and while the soldiers stare at the strange light, the group rides through the camp and starts a fire. A soldier jumps on Limbo thinking he's a traitor, so Limbo has to push him off to keep on riding. Leo manages to steal a torch and uses it to light more tents on fire, He also hits a soldier with it. The rest of the group reaches the river and everyone crosses it quickly except for Ari, who hesitates at the sight of water. A furious adder throws a torch at her and causes her to fall off her horse. When Leo blocks at her with more fire, Otter throws a chain at his horse's feet to make him fall too. The soldiers continue to throw torches, so Leo runs to Ari and assures her he can carry her through the water. He jumps in with Ari on his back and swims to the other side until they finally reunite with the others. When Thade learns that the humans escaped on the soldiers' horses, he goes crazy and breaks a few things before making the entire army march to Kalima. In the morning, the group reaches the Holy Hills and Leo is devastated to discover that the station has crashed. All the sand, destruction, and skeletons indicate it happened thousands of years ago. Luckily, the computer is still working and Leo watches the logs to learn what happened. It turns out that Leo was pushed through time into the future, but the station looked for him in the present and landed on this planet when it was still uninhabited. The message that the crew saw at the beginning was older Carl from the future. Seamus had been one of the apes from the experiments. In fact, he was Pericles' son. He organized a mutiny and convinced the other apes to take control of the station. Most of Leo's crew is dead and the tribesmen are the descendants of the survivors, while the ape society is the descendants of the experiments. When the group comes out, they find all the tribesmen surrounding them since they've heard the stories of the human who dared fight the apes. In the evening, Byrne explores the area and sees the ape army approach. Leo tells the tribesmen to run away but they don't listen. Meanwhile, Ari goes to see Thade and offers herself in exchange for letting the tribesmen live. However, Thade hates that she smells like a human and process to burn her hand with the slave mark. Then he sends her back so she can die with the tribesmen tomorrow. In the morning, Leo continues to check the computer and notices there's still quite some power left, which gives him an idea. He convinces the other humans to hide behind the station while a small group rides ahead as bait. Soon Thane's army arrives and the first wave of apes attacks. The group rides back to the station as planned, but Byrne accidentally falls with his horse. Leo rushes to help him and they run back just in time. Then Leo activates the station's thrusters and the huge flames bring down all the incoming soldiers in seconds. This uses all of the station's remaining power. Now the humans come out and start beating up the burned apes. Adder is scared that the station will shoot again and wants to leave, which was Leo's plan. However, Thade refuses to give up and tells his army to attack anyway. A brutal battle begins and the humans fight as much as they can, but it's clear that the apes have the upper hand. Gunnar is grabbed by an ape and killed with a broken neck. Dana is almost killed too, but Ari jumps on her attacker and they kill him together. When they rush for cover, Dana sees the slave mark on Ari's hand and finally finds sympathy for her. While Tyval also loses his life, Cruel and Adder crash into each other and desperately fight as they roll on the ground. Unfortunately, Adder overpowers Cruel and kills him. Thade kills all the humans he finds in his way until he can confront Leo, who hits him in the face. A furious Thade grabs him by the neck and punches him before throwing him down. Then Thade gets ready to kill him, but the entire battlefield freezes when they hear an explosion. A light appears in the sky and slowly descends until it reveals the pod with Pericles. The ape army immediately kneels because they think Pericles is the second coming up Seamus. Leo takes Pericles' bag and asks him to make the apes see reason, but Pericles runs into the station. When Leo tries to follow him, he's tackled down by Thade. Ari jumps on them and Thade has to push her off, giving Leo an opening to run into the station. Thade follows him and kicks him down to start beating him up again. Now it's Pericles who joins the fight, but he's also thrown at the wall. Leo pulls out a gun from Pericles' bag and opens fire. However, Thade's armor protects him and he jumps on Leo to disarm him. The gun slides into the cockpit and Thade rushes to grab it, accidentally firing it in the process. Leo's friends enter the station with Adder, who is horrified by the damage that Thade did to Pericles. Thade gets ready to shoot Leo, but he closes the cockpit to trap him and the bullets just bounce inside. A desperate Thade tells Adder to kill Leo, who reminds him that humans brought the apes here and they could live in peace. Adder finally accepts that everything he believed in is a lie and refuses to help his boss. Everyone watches as Thade goes crazy and shoots every corner of the cockpit, but he finally gives up when he realizes he's achieving nothing. Afterward, Leo checks on Pericles, who is wounded but still alive. The group buries all the fallen fighters and Adder tells them not to mark the graves. That way they can't tell who is human and who is an ape and everyone will be mourned equally. From now on, both groups will live in harmony. Leo leaves Pericles with Ari and checks the pod's radar, which finds the storm that brought him here. Ari asks him to stay but Leo can't, so he apologizes by kissing her. When Leo says goodbye to Dana, she also kisses him. Leo finally gets in the pod and starts his journey through space. He crosses the storm and after lots of shaking, he finally comes back to our solar system. Sadly, the pod loses control and Leo can't land it properly, so it ends up crashing in Washington, D.C. When Leo comes out, he's shocked to see Thane's face on the memorial instead of Lincoln's, and even the famous quote has been changed to mention apes. Soon the police surround him and they're all apes too. It turns out Thane stole the other pod and traveled back in time to conquer Earth. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.